I'm Chris, and today we're going to learn how to fell a tree. Let's do this real quick. You want to start off by surveying the land around the tree and where the tree is going to fall itself. You want to make sure you clear out any brush or any potential hazards that are on the ground. That could be logs, sticks, saplings, vines, anything that's on the ground that you could trip over. And then you want to take a look at the tree itself. You want to look for any potential hazards that are above the tree, meaning other limbs from other trees, vines that are connected from one tree to another, power wires, phone wires, anything like that that's going to create a potential hazard when the tree actually falls. You want to take your time looking at the lean of the tree and determining which side of the tree has more leaves and branches on to determine the heavier side, and compare all that to where you actually want to fell the tree safely. The first cut we're going to make is going to be the notch cut, and that's really going to help determine the direction of which the tree is going to actually fall. It's going to help control everything for us, and it's a pretty important cut. Now unfortunately here, when I went to start my chainsaw, the starter pole kind of broke right off of my hands. Now the rope broke, so I had to find some sort of replacement. I actually had another starter pole back at home, but that wasn't going to do me any good here. So the only thing I had on me was a little bit of paracord that was holding my lighter to my belt loop. And honestly, it did come in handy. I was able to repair my starter pole with a bit of paracord. This is actually the first time I used paracord in an emergency situation. This is going to be the first cut for our notch cut, and it's going to be about a 45-degree angle. Some saws will actually have a little 45-degree angle on the handle itself, so you can hold it comfortably and make your notch cut. But you're going to cut down 45 degrees about a third of the way into the tree, and then you're going to make a cut horizontally over to there. And you're really going to be careful to match up the angles nice. You want to make sure everything is nice and cleaned up and a really good angle, because this notch is really important in determining which way the tree is going to fell. Now there are a couple different ways in how to make this notch cut. You can make it a little bit steeper at like a 70-degree angle. The bottom cut could be cut upwards a little bit if you were on a bit of a slope or something like that. There's a couple different ways you can do it. This is the most common notch to do. This tree was on level ground. It had a lean to it to where I actually wanted to drop the tree. So everything was working in my favor. I was just going to do the normal common notch. This is one of the most common and basic ways to fell a tree. Now I'm only using an 18-inch chainsaw here, and this tree is actually a decent size for this particular chainsaw. And like I said, once you get this notch all cleaned up and cut up, it's going to be time to go ahead and start your back cut. This is going to be your felling cut. You really want to make sure you get this cut right to where it's on the back of the notch, it's 1.5 inches, 2 inches above the notch, and really make sure that the area is clear before you start this cut. Make sure that you're communicating with everybody involved, that they know you're actually felling the tree right now. And like I said, you want to have it 1.5 inches, 2 inches above the bottom of the notch, and you want to go towards the notch, and you want to get to a point where it's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches away from the back of the notch. And you could insert a wedge at this point so that the tree doesn't fall back onto your saw and bind everything up and get your saw trapped in the tree. Now with this particular tree, I could see that the tree was opening up on the felling side, and there really was no need for a wedge. The tree was going over really nice and easy. And make sure you go on your escape path at a nice even pace, 45 degrees away from the fell of the tree. And as you can see on the stump of the tree, we can see the back cut, the hinge that actually broke off, and then the notch that really helped control the direction of the tree. Now just because the tree is on the ground doesn't mean that all danger is avoided. There's still a lot of potential here for you to get injured. You want to be careful when you're limbing the tree. You want to be careful of the nose of the chainsaw, where it's actually cutting into and hitting, that you don't hit anything, you don't have any sudden kickback of anything. And it's really safe to have the tree in between you and the chainsaw, and to watch out for a limb like this that just moved a little bit. It's a little bit under tension, and I decided to leave that limb alone. I'll come to it later when I'm actually bucking the tree up. And all the other limbs that are underneath the tree that are sticking in the ground or hitting the ground and under tension, I'm going to leave those alone until I'm bucking the tree up, and I can really locate the branches that are under tension and alleviate that tension in the correct way so the branch doesn't come flying at me, hit me, knock me over, fall on my saw, whatever might happen. And you want to be careful that you're using an undercut first and then an overcut when you're limbing the tree up. Some of the smaller limbs you can easily just cut straight through. You want to look at how the branches are affected by gravity and how they're laying, especially the ones that aren't touching the ground. You just want to cut it so that it doesn't bind your chainsaw up or anything like that. And then at some point, once you get the top of the tree off, it's going to be time to start really bucking the tree up. This is a perfect time to actually start cleaning up all the limbs that you've cut off. Clear your work area so that you're not going to trip over anything with your chainsaw in hand and have potential serious injury here. And I would actually suggest doing this as you're going and limbing the tree up, just so you can walk safely and move safely. You want to make sure as you're bucking the tree up, you're looking at the tree itself and how it's laying, so you can identify which side is under compression and which side is under tension, so that you can make the correct cuts so that your saw isn't going to get bound up within that log itself. And a good idea, if you're using this for firewood, just go ahead and mark your tree out real quick. My axe is about maybe 16 inches or so, and this will give me a good indication of where I need to cut, so that when I make my cuts, everything fits in my fireplace good, As you're bucking your tree up, you want to watch out for branches like this, where the compression and tension are kind of flipped. With this particular branch, the compression was on the upper side, where I actually thought it was on the underside. And you could see the branch move a little bit. You want to be aware of that as you're doing it. And like I said, with the normal bucking of the tree, make your compression side cut first, then make your tension side cut straight through, and you really shouldn't have any issues of it binding on your chainsaw as you're cutting through. It should be really easy. And once you get to the end of the tree, you could either, cut a third of the way down on the log and then roll it over and cut the rest of the way, or you could use a tool like this that actually picks the log up, gets it up off the ground, so you don't have to worry about hitting the ground with your chainsaw or anything like this. Now, using a tool like this, it does help, but it doesn't work on every size log. It doesn't work on really small stuff. It doesn't work on really large logs either. It might almost be easier, if you have the room, to just cut the top of the log, roll it over, cut it again, and be done with it. And before you know it, you're actually going to have your tree all bucked up, ready to stack all that wood so you can start chopping it up and clear the rest of your work area, so that either you can cut down another tree or your work day is going to be finished. It's important to keep your work area nice, clean, neat, and organized throughout the day, so that you can really avoid any tripping hazards or anything like that. You're going to have a nice work day when you complete your job with no injuries to anybody else, a day that really just goes nice and smooth, and before you know it, it's over, you're done, and you still have plenty of time to spare. I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. It definitely helps me out. Don't forget to share this video with your friends, and don't forget to check out some of my other videos. And if you guys used any of these tips, please leave a comment below. Thank you guys so much. One more time.
I didn't film it.